Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more predator patterning, and today we've got a very interesting combination to try out. It's a shell that has been requested for quite some time now, and I have definitely wanted to try them as well. So when I found some on sale the other day, I had to pick them up so we could see what they could do. And I've also got a slight little bit different of a setup to run them through today as well. Another pretty recent addition anyway. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what these can give us, since we should see some good results, and we should also get a pretty good idea on what kind of chokes these like moving forward as we do more testing with these shells. But as for those shells, I picked up some of these, the Winchester Varmint X loads. They are a 12 gauge, 3-inch, 1.5 ounce payload of lead BB, moving about 1,300 feet per second. These are a predator and varmint load, so anything from your typical pests like groundhogs, possums, raccoons, all the way up into fox or coyote territory as well. That's what these are designed for. And they do have the shot lock technology, which here's another little diagram of it on the back. If you're familiar with the Winchester Longbeard XR turkey loads, it's pretty much the same shell, just loaded with a bigger shot size. It's that same waxy, kind of clumpy buffer material that kind of molds the entire shot column into one chunk when it's sitting in the shell, and it does legitimately work too. So if these pattern anything like the Longbeard XR shells do in the turkey world, then we should have a very nice performer on our hands. And here's what one of those shells looks like out of the box for those curious. It literally looks like a Longbeard XR load, even down to the same kind of crimp style there. The only difference is it's got Varmint X and BB written on the side of it. So I've got some good hopes for these shells for sure, but we're going to see how they pattern through a few different chokes. As for the shotgun we're running them through, I brought out an old Mossberg 500. Technically this is a Mossberg 500A. I believe it's mid 80s territory, but it is a standard 500 overall. You guys have seen this shotgun on the channel before. However, this is a brand new barrel for it. It is actually a modern day legitimate Mossberg vent rib 28-inch barrel with the AccuChoke screw-in choke system in it. So now we've got a Mossberg 500 that we can change chokes in. And that's exactly what we're going to use it for today. I've got 4 different chokes. Installed here in the gun is a cylinder bore. I've also got an improved cylinder, a mod, and a full choke as well to run. The cylinder bore is a 730 constriction. The improved cylinder is 721. The mod is 706, and the full is the 696, for those of you that are curious on the exact constrictions of my particular chokes. So we're going to get an idea on what these shells do through different constrictions and what they tend to like, if it's a little more or a little less choke. So as for our test today, we're kind of going to run this the same as we usually do when we test a what choke is best for kind of combination, like we're doing here today. I've got 4 different choke constrictions, so we're going to take one shot through each of those 4 chokes. I've got big sheets of paper set up at 40 yards. That's going to be our range. Will we test these at a little bit closer or a little bit longer range at some point? Probably so. But for today, to get an initial baseline, 40 yards is kind of the standard for most pattern performance type of testing. So we'll run a shot through the cylinder, improved cylinder, mod, and full, and see which of these chokes performs best at 40 yards. If there's an obvious winner or not, we'll definitely know moving forward what kind of constriction area that these tend to like as we test them through some other chokes or aftermarket combos or other shotguns or anything like that. So let's get you guys a view of these big sheets of paper. They are blank for now, but don't worry, I'm going to mark everything and measure everything when we go down and look at them. But I've got some decent hopes for it. If I have my suspicions, I think we're probably going to see better patterns through the mod and full compared to the cylinder or improved cylinder, but we don't know until we try it. So let's take our shots through all these different chokes and see which ones these Varmint X loads tend to prefer. All right, so we'll run through our chronograph numbers for all 4 of those shots real quick before we look at our results. Boss claim was 1300, and we were bouncing a little bit above and a little bit below that. Our cylinder bore gave us 1248. Our improved cylinder gave us 1296. Our modified gave us 1341. And our full choke gave us 1334. So a little bit of increase in velocity as we tighten the choke down until we got between our modified and full. But I would say we were bouncing a little bit above and a little bit below. Considering it gave us an average at 1304, it's probably right about where we should be considering the claim is 1300. So perfectly fine for velocities up here. Now let's go check out our patterns and see what that shell prefers as for chokes. All right, so now we're down here at our targets. Reminder, all of these shots were at 40 yards. All we did was change chokes between each one, and we see a very obvious difference, that's for sure. We'll start here with our cylinder bore choke at 40 yards, and we kind of threw the pattern everywhere. The paper is 36 inches wide by about 44 inches tall. The core might have favored a little bit over here to the left. That circle is 10 inches, and we had 7 pellets within there at 40. Would it be good enough to do the job if you would have taken that shot on a coyote or a groundhog or something and actually centered your core up? Probably so, but definitely nowhere even remotely close to what we got from the rest of our chokes. So right off the rip, I'm saying that cylinder bore probably isn't the choke for mid to long range for these particular shells. Up close and personal, 20 yards and in, that might be exactly what you're looking for. It's going to give you a little more room, but out to 40, I would probably go with one of our other chokes that we've got. Now moving over to our improved cylinder, you can already see a massive difference here. Our pattern was a little more centered up, but it did favor a touch higher, but we still kept everything on the paper here. We definitely condensed our spread down, no doubt about it. In our 10-inch circle, we now have 21 pellets, so that is a pretty decent core area going on, and it's pretty even for the most part right around that 10-inch circle, but the farther we get out in the pattern, the more stringy it gets. It's a little splotchy. No major flyers necessarily, but there is a pretty good void on the bottom right edge of this pattern with a little bit of stringy stuff down at the bottom as well. So a definite improvement for sure, but still, I don't think it's as good as our other 2 chokes are. But for improved cylinder, it is definitely 40-yard capable. So now we have our modified choke, and we still continued to see improvement, that's for sure. Quite a bit tighter of a spread, quite a bit more even of a spread as well. We condensed down a lot of the stringy stuff around the far outskirt edges. In our 10-inch circle, we only had 19 pellets compared to 21 with our improved cylinder, but the core is still plenty hot enough. And if I would have just drawn that circle just a tiny little bit in any direction there, we probably would have picked up 1 or 2 more pellets. So I think it's a pretty nominal difference there overall as far as the core area and the amount of pellets that are in it, but the rest of the pattern is a definite improvement overall. We still have a little bit of stringy stuff around the edges, so it's not perfectly even necessarily, but it is a definite improvement. So for a mod choke, that is easily capable out to 40 yards. It's going to give you a little bit of leeway left to right, up or down, while still having a plenty hot enough core area. There's not any super major voids in it until you get to the very edges of the pattern, so that's a perfectly solid performance right there overall. And starting with our mod choke, that is probably what I would legitimately start to want to use if I'm running these shells as a mod and above. Because here we have our full choke and we see a very nice pattern going on here. Now, once again, our 10-inch circle core dropped in pellet count to 16. Again, maybe if I inched that circle a little bit differently from where I drew it, maybe we would pick up a pellet or 2 here or there, but we see a very nice even spread of them throughout most of the pattern there. We started to throw a couple flyers up here at the top edge, but they're not too bad overall when the rest of the pattern looks like that. I don't know that the core or the entire pattern is necessarily tighter than what we saw with our modified choke, but I do think it's quite a bit more even, and the edges might be a little more condensed and a little less splotchy overall. That is a perfectly usable pattern for these shells. That's going to be able to take anything from your varmints like groundhogs all the way up into coyotes and fox territory all day long. It's not overly tight. It's going to give you a little bit of leeway if you're taking a shot at a trotting coyote or something of that nature. That's going to do the job, no doubt about it. So either a modified or a full is probably what I would go with today, but if I had to choose, that full choke, even if it does have a couple less pellets in the core, I like how even that spread is overall. So that is probably my winner, and coming into it, I figured either a modified or a full was probably going to be the bet for these shells. But I will go ahead and pop up all 4 of these patterns side by side on the screen, so that way you guys can get a good look going from one choke to the next, mainly comparing that modified and full choke. Pretty similar patterns overall, but I think the consistency in the full choke is a little bit better than what it was in the modified, but the core area isn't really all that much different overall. Clearly though, it seems like modified choke and above is probably what you want here, and that was my guess coming into it. And here are the wads from those shells, going from left to right. It's cylinder, improved cylinder, mod, and full all the way on the right. Not much of a difference from improved cylinder all the way up into mod and full, but our cylinder bore wad definitely opened farther than the rest. We had one pedal really open up. That could be a reason why we kind of favored our pattern to the left a little bit where we didn't with the others, because I felt good about all of those shots. I definitely didn't pull anything that bad. So that could have been a factor. Maybe it was a little bit of luck of the draw, or maybe just that cylinder bore not having any sort of constriction to control these wads a little bit coming out of the end of the barrel. Might have just let the wad open right up immediately and not really control stuff all that well. All 3 of the improved cylinder, mod, and full wads went about 30 to 40 yards down range. This cylinder bore one went about 10 yards in front of the muzzle. So big difference there, that's for sure, if it opens up like that. But all the rest of them look very consistent. Nothing stuck down in there except a little bit of that buffer material you can see. They are a copper plated pellet as well. So all of that combined definitely helps. And this is just a very standard Winchester wad overall. Nothing fancy to see here. Alright y'all, well, I apologize for the glare. The sun is just really bad this morning. But what did y'all think about those shells right there? Clearly, it seems like modified or full choke is the way to go here. I mean, that pattern compared to that pattern is very similar overall. I wouldn't hesitate to run either one of them, that's for sure. If I had to choose one and I'm running these shells, as of right now with stock chokes, it's probably going to be the full choke. Now, of course, like I mentioned earlier, we will be running these shells through other chokes and other shotguns to see what they're capable of, either with a little more constriction or a more specialty use designed aftermarket choke. Carlson's makes a coyote choke, and even some of the Kicks chokes might be a very good combo with these type of shells. So we've definitely got some more testing to do with them, that's for sure. But for a baseline starting point, we see that if you've got a little bit of choke, then you're probably going to be pretty good off for a pattern. At least an improved cylinder, but if I'm running it mod or full, either one is going to do the job just fine out to 40 yards. And both of them, considering how similar the patterns are, they would probably hold up a little farther than that as well. At least good enough to get several pellets in what you're trying to hit. And that's another thing. We will most likely be testing these at longer ranges as well, 50 to 60 yards at some point. But I think we want to find the best choke combo, and then we can push that out farther whenever we do find that combo. But overall, to get us an idea on what these shells are capable of, at least now we've got a reference point, and we know that they seem to be some pretty decent performing shells overall through just stock flush chokes. So I'm definitely looking forward to doing some more testing with them, that's for sure, because I think we can get better than this with the right choke combo. But leave all your thoughts down below. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Winchester Varmint X loads? And if so, what kind of results have you seen? Are any one of these a combo that you would use? Would you prefer the little bit more open pattern that something like the improved cylinder would give you? Or are you going to go with the mod or full over here? A little tighter, a little more even of a spread? And what other choke combos or shotguns do you want to see us run those shells through? Let me know all that down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, we have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.